Hey everyone, welcome to today's video, which is going to be my very first video of the year, as well as my very first reading video for the year, because this year I really want to get my reading on somewhat of a forward moving motion. It has been a bad period, 2 years of reading. I really put reading on the back burner and I want to get back into it more. So I set this year with a theme, which is King and Classics, which is Stephen King books and classic novels. So my goal this year is to focus on 6 from each category. And if you're eligible, share that video with you today. Now, this isn't going to be the only books I want to read this year. Obviously, I'm going to read other stuff, or I'm going to need a break from King novels, and then need a break from classic novels, and read other things. There's books that I really want to read this year, which, one of my highly anticipated books, I think, comes out in February or March. I'll double check. But that is, Master of Artificers. Don't know how to pronounce that last word. But it is book 2. It's a sequel to Masters of Sorrow by Justin T. Call. And I read the first book last year, and it was so good. I loved it. It is probably one of my all-time favorite fantasy series. I'm going to pick the first book up for my birthday, and then hopefully the other one will be out at the same time as the birthday, which right afterwards, so I can jump right back into it, because that book I am waiting for. That second book I am waiting for. That first book was amazing. The ending was amazing. So I'm going to be reading other things besides Stephen King and classic novels. Obviously, today is January 1st when I'm filming this. I'm going to be going to the library at some point this year, upwards of probably 5,200 times. That's just how it goes with me and my family. So, there's going to be other books, but these are the ones I want to focus on. So I'm going to start with my Stephen King books that I picked up. I'm going to talk classics, and then, I will give you a brief synopsis if I know enough about the book. And then I'll talk about the reason why I want to read it, because there is a reason behind every single one of these books of why I read them. So I will start with the Stephen King books that I want to read this year. Okay, so for the first Stephen King book, which you've just seen, is Tommyknockers. This book I started to read last year, and I was reading this around the same time that we had rescued our second cat, Jujubee. And with all that going on, I really couldn't focus on this book, and I really couldn't. This book wasn't really grabbing me enough to keep me reading. So I ended up putting it on my shelf. I remember everything. I still have my bookmark in here. I remember everything that I read, the first 50 pages, actually. This book is about a small town, and the main character, I think her name's Andy. Bobby. Yeah, Bobby. Don't know where I got Andy from. Bobby, who, one day when she was out walking with the dog, she stumbles over something, and it kind of festers in her mind what it was, so she goes back out to the woods, starts digging up this what she thinks is like a metal thing, and it's this big huge structure, and it kind of starts to it's going to start to brainwash the town. Basically, it's like an alien structure. I have seen the movie many moons ago, so I want to read the book. Now, the reason why I read this book is it is one of 2 books that Stephen King has disowned, or that Stephen King doesn't like to talk about. The first book is Pet Sematary. With Pet Sematary, he wanted to switch publication houses to, I think it was either Viking or the one he's with currently, the publication house he's with currently. And through his old one, he still had one book on contract. And he had wrote Pet Cemetery, and he deemed it too dark. Even his wife, Tabitha, I think, actually begged him not to put out publication. And when he only had one book left on contract, he had Pet Cemetery sitting there. He talked it over with his wife, and they, Stephen King basically said, hey, you can have this book. I'm not going to tour for it. I'm not going to go out and, basically, you can publish this book, but I'm not going to even speak about it. They agreed. He fulfilled his contract. The book got published. Tommyknockers, on the other hand, was during the height of his addiction, and he basically calls it his worst novel. Actually, I think he's actually stated that he thinks this is his worst novel ever that he's ever wrote. So I'm interested. That is my reasoning why I want to read this book, to see if my favorite author says this is his worst novel ever. Is it really his worst novel ever, or what's going on? 'Cause I enjoyed the first 50 pages. It just wasn't grabbing me enough to. It wasn't really grabbing me enough to keep me at the time with everything that was going on in my life. The next book is actually a reread. I read this book back when I first got it. I was a part of a book club called the Stephen King Book Club, which is essentially a Stephen King novel every single month. And this is one of the books in there that I got. You can when you first signed up, they sent you a card to fill out which books you have, so you can get copies, multiples. And this was one of the copies of the book I got. I read it and instantly hated it. Some people say this is the beginning of his best works. So I want to give it another shot, which this is the Gunslinger book 1 in the Dark Tower series. This is a fantasy series that is kind of like a Stephen King multiverse. There's elements of his other books that are actually mentioned in this book, or appear in this book. So I want to try it again and give it a shot. It is a very short book. It is only 230 pages, and it is quite large printing. So I do want to reread this book, and then I do only have 4 King books here to talk about. So I left space. If I do enjoy this, I can continue on with the Dark Tower series or read other books. So that is book 2 of my Kings. Now these next 2 King books, I will admit, scare me for different reasons. One, which I'm going to talk about first, is because the title of the book is something that I personally suffer from. That is Insomnia by Stephen King. Why do I keep saying by Stephen King? This is the Stephen King section. It's Insomnia. This is the story of a man, his name Ralph. He is an older man, and I'm not older, but we still have insomnia. And he starts suffering from insomnia, and he's starting to have hallucinations of creatures, and things just start happening from there. I want to say, probably the first 100-some pages of this many years ago, and it terrified me so much because I there were points with my insomnia where I was up for days at a time, and the way the insomnia, is described in this book is spot on, And it got to the point where I just could not pick this book up anymore because it literally scared me. So I want to tackle this book now that I've gotten to a point where my insomnia isn't super, super bad. I've gotten to a point where I've accepted the napping life and I make up for my sleep during the day, Back in the day, I was like, I do not want to nap, I don't want to waste the day, and just kind of suffer with it. Now if I'm tired, I'm going to bed. So my insomnia has kind of evened out and has got to the point where it's not as scary. So I think this is the year I can tackle insomnia. And finally, this book is going to be technically a reread. I read this book, I want to say when I was 12 years old, 12, 13, which is an incredible feat, by the way. And the reason it scares me is simply 2020, and that's The Stand. If you don't know, this book is about a virus that wipes the world out and becomes a post-apocalyptic world. That's why I didn't tackle this last year, because we could have been on the cusp of that. We still might. But yeah, I read this book many years ago. Loved it. I never read the complete uncut version. My mom had a copy of the original, which we have lost in many moves, which makes me sad because I'm now collecting Stephen King books, and I would like the original, you know what I mean, to sit next to this one. But anyways, since we all know what this is about, the virus, the people surviving, it's the story of many, many, many characters, and this is going to be a good one to read because on CBS All Access, currently there is a miniseries going of this, which has one of my favorite people of all times, Alexander Skarsgård, as Randall Flagg. Perfect casting, as well as, Whoopi Goldberg as, what is her name? Is it Mother Abigail? I forget her name now. But if you look up the casting, it is perfect, spot on, for what I envisioned, for the book, And anytime I get to watch Alexander Skarsgård for however many plus hours, I'll be happy. So, I'm hoping to either read this before I watch the series, I'm going to wait till it comes out on DVD, or read this and then go into the series. I may start this and then use this series as like a motivation to keep on reading, because it's a big book. This book is huge. It is officially 1,153 pages long. So yeah, and then that is that's all for the Stephen King books I have. Like I said, I'm going to leave room just in case I want to read more of the Drug Tower series, as well as I believe it's this year, he has a new book coming out. It is part of the Hard Case Crime books. I forget what it's called, but it's the same kind of one as Joyland, like that kind of book. So I want to save him for his newest book. I usually like to read the newest books when they first come out. Still haven't read The Institute. I'm looking at my shelf over there. The Institute. I didn't like the main character's voice, so he was very whiny, and you're supposed to read through his head. Just like, so I will get back to that one, but I usually like to read his new books when they come out, right then and there. So classics. I have all 6 classics ready to go. First one you've seen, Moby Dick by Herman Melville. This is actually an illustrated edition. This was a lucky library find. It was only $1. It has someone's receipt in here. Okay, this is an old ass receipt. For Mr. James R. Bean. Nice name. From Harry Holton, Wolf Island, Kingston? Canada. $21. Oops. Lock that part out because it was a license plate. Nobody knows that. Okay. You know what? This is going to be when I start first, so. Bookmark. Mr. Bean, thank you. But it is illustrated. If I can find illustrations now. So there's little illustrations throughout. I think we all know at this point what Moby Dick is about. But the reason I would read this book is I never got to read Moby Dick. And 2, this is just a beautiful, beautiful edition. So I'm going to read Moby Dick. Next book. I've been wanting to read this book for so long. It has been one of the books that I've wanted to read for pretty much all of my reading life. And this is my second copy. If you look up, oh, you can't see it, never mind. It's on the top of this stack right there. I have the original. It's like a leather-bound copy of the hardcover with a nice dust jacket, but the dust jacket is kind of old. So let me read the second copy. And that is Roots by Alex Haley. And if you want what this is also about is Alex Haley, I believe, retelling his family history, like his generations of families through slavery. And I have been wanting to read this book for so long, and I've been wanting to watch the miniseries, the original one. So I think I'm gonna read this, and then maybe me and my mom will tackle the miniseries this year. I don't think, besides being a very, very heavy topic, I don't think it's gonna be a hard book to read because this edition actually has very nice printing. Unlike some classes, which I think the original actually has very small printing. This is like nice size printing, so it won't feel like it's a slog to read printing wise. It is another big book, about 900 pages, but I just really want to read this book and have it read. The next book is one I thought I read. My mom originally actually found my original copy, which was a kids thrift version, which basically is like a kid-friendly version of the story. I'm gonna condense it. So I was like, you know what, I need to read the book again. And there's Dracula by Bram Stoker. We all know what this is about. I love me some Dracula. I love me some vampires. So guess what? I'm reading it. And actually, funny story. My bloodline, if you search back far enough, like when my dad did it, has connections to the original inspiration, Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes. So I have a very distant relative of Vlad the Impaler, which basically also made me a distant relative of the royal family, allegedly. But also, another side note, there's a town in Romania with my last name. Another fun tidbit. I want to go there one day. Just be like, be like, point stuff. Me. Name. Me. So I'll probably be the only person that gets kicked out of a town that has the name of the town in their name. But anyways, I'm gonna read, which is the author title. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Couldn't remember these are backwards. Don't know much actually about the plot of this book, but I just know it's a very well-loved classic. And you can't go wrong from what everyone says with a Bronte novel, so right there. Also, I'm going to read Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott. Just because when I was looking at my classics, it was calling out to me. So I want to read it. And the final one, because it's right up my alley, it's Victorian horror. It's an author I want to try. And that is Wilkie Collins' The Woman in White. This is the only one that isn't turning. This is what I was talking about. Small printing. Like, here's, you know what I mean? This is small. This is normal. And a lot of times when classes are being reprinted, the reason why everything's so small and sometimes blurry is because a lot of times they're using the original. So it's almost like it's like a photocopy that's been shrunk down to book size for the text. Because it's not like digital era, you know what I mean? Where like you have a digital format that's to put into the book, you know? But yeah. I'm going to read this Victorian horror right up my alley. So those are the books I have set aside. Some of the books I have set aside, 17 King novels. Don't have or want to wait and see. Like I said, obviously I do want to read more books besides just these ones this year. But this is going to be my guidelines for the year. I hope you are reading on track. I do have a Goodreads goal, a set of 13 books, which is one more than the 6 of each of these. And just because 13 is more lucky of a number than 12. So yeah, that is it for today. Hope you all have an amazing day. Let me know some of your reading goals if you want to let me know in the comments. And I will hopefully, fingers crossed, have a wonderful reading year this year and get everything back on track with my reading. So I'll see you guys in the next video.